Welcome back. Mornings on a Friday morning. SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. And we are now joined again, second Friday in a row, by the president of Emmerich Newspapers, Wyatt Emmerich, for an update on what's going on in the wonderful world of Clarksdale. This was inevitable, wasn't it, Wyatt?
Yes, I think it was. It pretty much played out the way we anticipated. I warned the city attorney that this was going to blow up in their face, and this was silly. And it pretty much played out the way I anticipated.
Now, for people that didn't catch the show last week or haven't been keeping up with this, just give us a brief bullet synopsis of what this entire situation was, how this started, and what happened.
So the city wanted to raise taxes, 2%, sin tax, to fund the police. And we actually supported that, and the community did. And then the city wanted to broaden that to include economic development, which, as you know, can just mean pretty much anything. So it went from a tax for the police to a general tax. Well, they had a meeting to vote for that, and they did not notify the media about the meeting. And we wrote an editorial criticizing them for not following the open meetings law and not being transparent, being secretive. And they didn't like that editorial, and they went to a Hinds County judge, which is kind of weird because this was in Clarksdale, and got a temporary restraining order forbidding us from displaying the editorial on our websites. That launched a national outrage, and several days later, the city voted to rescind their lawsuit, and then a few days after that, the judge dismissed the lawsuit.
And, one thing that I've noticed in the coverage, it might at best get a mention. I mean, those of us in the media know the myriad of problems that are involved with this kind of action by the city board, but a lot of other people don't. I think it's important to emphasize the fact that whether it was a mistake or not, they broke the law by not notifying the media. This is not a courtesy. This is not something they could have done or should have done. It's literally the law that they have to notify the media before meetings, especially special call meetings, which they didn't do. So just fundamentally, they were in the wrong before any of this hoopla started that, as you said, went nationally. But in the national coverage, me personally, I don't think there has been enough emphasis on the fact that what they did was illegal.
Yes, it's a violation of the open meetings law. The mayor cited another section of the statute involving governmental entities that does not mention prior notification, and it's almost as though he didn't even know that the open meetings law existed. I don't know why he cited the wrong statute, but at any rate, yes, it is law. It's in our open meetings law. You have to notify the media, and they didn't do it. They admitted they didn't do it, which is kind of strange, and they had an affidavit before the judge that said that. So why the judge went along with their request to enter a temporary restraining order is a big mystery. And I think that's one of the things that really alarmed the nation was the prior restraint. And that's incredibly unusual and highly suspect according to the First Amendment laws. I mean, you practically have to, practically has to be a nuclear launch before you can have prior restraint on a news story. So it was a pretty significant sequence of events and an assault on the First Amendment. And all the First Amendment experts and aficionados out there, now that we have social media and instant communication, I mean, they were immediately outraged. A post went viral on Twitter, got over 1.5 million. Is it re-X's now? Is it retweets? I don't know, like what we say now that it's X.
I
But
think it's
at any rate,
reposts now. I don't
repost.
know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I don't know.
but yeah, I mean, it was very encouraging to see the immediate backlash from all those people out there willing to defend the First Amendment. That was, to me, the big takeaway.
Well, and even if you take away what personal opinion here, I would consider a pretty open and shut case that there was some judge shopping that went on here. Otherwise, why do you wind up in Hinds County Court for a Clarksdale case? These kind of things, we talked about it last week. There was another one before the first of the year that happened up in the Midwest, where they actually went in and the sheriff's department seized the computers at a local newspaper because they published something the local government didn't agree with. These kind of attacks seem to be picking up steam a little bit. How many times do they have to learn their lesson, I guess would be the way to put it, before this trails off and we stop seeing this kind of activity?
I don't know. It's a form of intimidation. Hey, we can mess with you, and so anytime you're thinking about writing a critical editorial, just remember there. We can mess with you. We can cause trouble in your life, and it was trouble. I mean, I lost a week, just answering. Mainly doing interviews with the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN and Fox News. I mean, it was kind of fun, but it was disruptive, and it would have been very expensive legally. But fortunately, there were several First Amendment nonprofit groups that were willing to represent me pro bono, and we signed an agreement with an organization called FIRE, which stands for Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. They've done tremendous work all over the country defending not just newspapers or whatnot, but individuals. They defended a lot of students on campuses who were the victims of political correctness. But they came to our aid, and I mean had a legal team of 3 or 4 people. In fact, they were on their way to fly down here for the hearing on this past Thursday before the judge, and it got canceled at the very last minute. That one guy was actually on his way to the airport, so he had to turn around. So, I mean, we had a whole legal team, but that's really important to know. And mayors and people who, I mean, look, most mayors and local public officials are great. I mean, we don't Um, if they do something to screw up, we might write an editorial. They understand that's the nature of the beast. They don't try to bully us. But for those who would think that they can bully us, this is a real lesson that there's a whole army of people willing to fight back out there in defense of freedom of
And
expression. And
one thing that I would like to note, because you gave that list of outlets you were doing interviews with, the New York Times, Fox News, all of these people, I want you to notice something about that list. There are some outlets that are considered to be left-leaning. There's some that are considered to be right-leaning. Trust me, all of that goes completely out the window when something like this comes up, because we're battling for very clearly established constitutional rights to free speech and a free media. And that's not a direction you really want to step in my opinion, Wyatt.
there's an old saying: I might not agree with what you say, but I'll fight to my death to defend your right to say it. You're right. I mean, this was not a partisan thing. This was not a left wing or right wing. Everybody uh, rallied around this little newspaper and its right to write an editorial, and that was really encouraging and I think that's just great. And like I said, it's not just our right as a little community newspaper. It's your right to speak what you want to say and to post what you want to post on Facebook and things like that. I mean, freedom of expression is not just for the media; it's for you. And so this
Very
was really
quickly
your
here,
rights at issue.
you're exactly right, but we're about out of time. Just very quickly, is the editorial back up on the website?
Yes, it is.
How do they get there? How does everybody go read it? Let's give you some clicks.
Oh, just go. I guess you can Google Clarksdale Press Register, or just go to pressregister.com.